Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod Sunday night show, the shit show with Lila and Pat. Welcome. Who's making her presence known already?
Already
There's
in my business.
Hi, how are you? Happy weekend.
I had a good weekend. Didn't do a lot, which is perfect. Nothing to complain about. Happened.
That is the way it's supposed to be.
Yes. Got to watch the Correspondents dinner, and I want to say, first off, thank you, technology, because it's much better when you watch it at 1.5 times speed. It's way less suffering involved. I don't know how many people watched it, but we watch it so you don't have to, and
Wow.
We'll get to that, obviously.
Yeah, we definitely will. That was something. That was truly something. The Fourth Estate.
Yeah. How's your weekend?
It was good. Kind of the same. Very low key and calm. And yes, we have quite a bit to choose from for our show tonight with people who are providing us with plenty of material. So, special shout out to some of the less courageous people in our midst.
We could make our whole format the shit show. And I mean, it's just low light after low light out there.
It's pretty bleak. I mean, I know it's like hard. We're going to get to it, but like the talk about democracy and then the First Amendment, the right to free speech and protest, they're just saying all this. I know. And like pushed with a bicycle by the cops. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And Jill Stein, I don't know if you saw it, but they arrested her for assault after getting hit they charged her with assault, and not most of the other people involved there, but just her.
Because she hit their bicycle?
Her. Yeah,
she attacked the bicycle flew into their bicycle?
Her elbow or face or whatever,
They did the same thing with the economics professor at Emory, who I mean, we haven't even talked about this, which we'll talk about on Wednesday probably, but she saw one of the students being like kneeled on her back by a cop, and she was just like, what's going on? She didn't touch anybody and got like bum rushed by 2 more cops. They throw her to the ground, and they charged her, held for 11 hours. They charged her with battery assault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got arrested not breaking up, but yelling at the cops who a fight broke out between skinheads and a group of black people on New Year's Eve in San Francisco. And I'm like, hey, you're going after the wrong people. The skinheads instigated it. Black guys are just trying to walk by, trying to leave it alone, as peaceful as you could possibly get. And the cops were like, oh, you're pointing this out. And next thing you know, I got arrested and shoved on the ground. So, the cops don't give a fuck. They just have an agenda.
I mean, it's like all the videos that people are posting of the Unite the Right, and even just more recently, like last year on some of the same campuses where now peaceful protesters are being zip tied, thrown to the ground, arrested, just full on Nazis with swastikas walking peacefully in their march, protesting down campus. And, they're like, well, that's why you never see Clark Kent and Superman in the same spot. Like those skinheads and those police.
Right. They're one in the same.
Yeah.
Perfect circle.
Perfect circle. All right. What do you think? Should we just get started?
Yeah. Let's say hi to people first, though. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening, pups. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the shit show.
Thanks for being here, you guys, on a Sunday evening. Hey, welcome, Jay. Very excited to have you all here. And yes, Strike. Is Strike still on your lap?
No, she hopped up. So my keyboard sits right in front of me normally.
Yeah.
But I had to move it because she kept jumping up during the show and landing on the keyboard and sending my computer into the abyss. So
can't have that.
So I moved that.
Also,
which now has this great perch for her. So
I got it.
I'm gonna have to put up those little homeless spikes like the city does.
Those super welcoming. Okay. We also, sorry, our Sunday night format's a little different, but we don't want to forget a huge shout out and thanks to our wonderful Punch Up Pod heroes and sheroes. Thank you all so much. The ranks keep growing and we really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And do we also just want to start with the cheers just for the tenor of the show before we start just, in our respondents? Should we?
Absolutely. I mean, always start with something good and end with something positive, or
we don't want to be
progress.
completely, we're not writing that in stone. That's not going to be in the contract. Just sometimes it's hard to find two good things.
We'll just depress you in the middle, and there'll be a cat video somewhere too. And you'll walk away going, it didn't suck. Or maybe it sucked, but it wasn't pure depression.
Yeah. That's the hope.
Cheers. So this was an activist,
Sean Blackman from the Party for Socialism and Liberation, speaking about all these different campus protests. Cheers to Sean.
What kind of system do we live in where an institution can call the police on you for opposing genocide, but there's no authority that you can call on an institution that supports genocide? That's the backwardness and hypocrisy of the capitalist system. This is what we're seeing at Columbia University. This is what we're seeing at the University of Texas, at Austin. This is what we're seeing at campuses all across the country, where encampments just like these are popping up, showing the bravery and the militancy of the students who refuse to stop the fight until Palestine is free. And what they also have in common is the role of the police. The police as an institution in the United States emerges out of slavery. The police exists ultimately to protect capital and the capitalist ruling class. The police like to say that they're here to protect and serve. But what they're protecting is the property of the rich, and what they're serving are their interests. They're not protecting and serving us. We will stay in the streets. We will stay in the fight. We will not be cowed. We will stay in the struggle. We will strengthen our solidarity. We will build the movement, and we will keep on and fight on and march on and chant on until Palestine is free. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Cheers to him and to all the people putting their lives on the line, because honestly, I have no faith that they won't start opening fire on all of these people sometime soon. So
somewhere there's going to be an example made, and it won't be accidental is my suspicion as well. But I think there's so much on the line and so many people affected by this that it would be a mistake for that to happen. I think that would only galvanize us further at this point. And while we're there, I just want to show a quick clip of the colleges. What started in Columbia is now happening at universities all across the country. I mean, we're talking hundreds. You've got over 1,000 people arrested in these protests already.
Yep.
It's blowing up and it's not going anywhere. And they keep kicking these camps out, and they move next door, or they just come back, or they blatantly fight back against the police trying to get them kicked out. So
yeah, that is like absolute courage. There's somewhere it's amazing. We'll have to show some of them, but where, our comrades successfully de-arrested somebody, blocked the police from allowing the person to be handcuffed and put into the car, or with umbrellas. They're really well trained. These protesters are giving me chills. They're so well trained. There's such solidarity. They are so on message. When somebody says something, which of course is what all the Zionists immediately want to point out, one of the leaders of one group of Columbia protesters said something about Zionists shouldn't exist, and it might have to get violent at some point, which that's a whole other conversation, which I happen to agree with, but harder than to talk about these protesters being only interested in peaceful protests, right? Right away, the other leaders on the campus denounced that, and that person apologized. So they are, and then the other thing, when they're walking with their umbrellas open and just all walking arms linked and pushed the cops back. I think that was in Texas, and they left campus. It's amazing.
It is amazing, and the fight's going to go on for a long time, I think. So
yeah.
But here's just a little glimpse somebody put together of some of the country colleges.
That's great. Yeah, it's spreading. It's spreading because it's really clear that we don't have a democracy, that Western Empire is willing to do anything to continue their hegemony. And, you know, this is important enough, but it's also clear that it's going to happen with every single aspect of our lives. They don't care. I mean, they hate us. They hate us. So we better fight back now. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, we'll get into it in the segment. I'll just say cheers for now, but Cop City, Cop City, Cop City. We need to stop cop cities everywhere, because this is why they're being built.
100%. That's the whole objective. Absolutely. All right. So this is gonna be a little painful, but we're gonna stop it in plenty of places. I think. Oh,
should we do a timeline cleanse or
okay. Look at you. You just want to bring some joy to a Sunday night. What are you doing?
I'm just thinking, let's keep it light and
I'm all doom and gloom. Yeah.
So okay, do we singing cats or something else?
Let's do some singing cats. Pat, sounds like that's let's do it.
So you asked for this
right now. That's very funny. Ace of Base. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say my oldest cat always poops in the litter box and stares me in the eye. First off, awkward. Stop doing that, and then leaves, leaving me with just stink. Leaves the apartment.
At least it's in the kitty litter, though.
True.
Ace of Base. I did a deep dive on them one insomniac night, and I didn't realize it's like Nazi. They're neo-Nazis. It's all coded language. I saw the signs. Yeah. Wow. Go ahead and do a search for that. And then I just wanted to say, where the cops were kettled, somebody said was Champaign-Urbana. I'm going to just go back up here for a second because Hope said that. Yeah, Champaign-Urbana and Jeremiah. And those my formative years, some of them were spent in Champaign-Urbana. My dad taught at the U of I for 9 years. And I have to say, it's funny, we watched all those like Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club and all those sorts of things when I was there. And it felt so disconnected from my reality, where we all like shopped at thrift stores. We were doing like marches and sit-ins against apartheid. There was like a real awareness. Even I was in 10th grade. I was 14, and it's amazing to me that this is happening now, all of these years later. But Champaign-Urbana is a very good left-leaning place if you find the right group. So that makes me proud that was there.
That is definitely the right group out there killing the cops. If you can kill the cops, we're allies.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless you're neo-Nazis, obviously.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, and brown
So
shirts.
should we get to
Washington U? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Let's get to the
party. We pulled just the. Bill Maher put out a segment from his show, and thankfully I didn't even watch this whole show. We just watched the segment.
No.
And that's all we're going to make you suffer through. But he's going after us leftists here, and we need to break it down.
Such an asshole. There's so many different things. At first, I want to say he doesn't mention the protesters on the other side of Gaza, the Israelis, the settlers who are blocking all of those hundreds of trucks. Like, he could talk about that they are actively participating in a man-made famine. Never talks about that.
And I think the point with the disrupting traffic situation is that person who's thinking I'm late to picking up my kid from daycare, they're going to ask why. Like, they're not immediately like judging the side of they're not, oh, they stopped me from traffic, I hate them. No, they're still going to think there's an urgency in the world that this keeps happening everywhere. And that's the whole point, is to sort of smack them in the face. Like, you must pay attention to this now.
Exactly. Yeah. And if protests were convenient for everybody, that's called a parade. Like, protests are meant to be disruptive. That's the whole point. They just want us to shut up and go vote. I mean, that's their whole deal.
So obvious.
And then,
in this
yeah,
segment. Like,
it is so gross and obvious, but also the privilege of this multimillionaire talking about primarily young kids who are being doxxed, threatened with lack of future employment, arrested, and he's going to sit there and talk about privilege. Sorry, go ahead.
And his whole panel here is just a bunch of yes men that nod and agree and laugh. And isn't that
Don
great?
Lemon,
like, of all people,
boots.
Don Lemon. I mean, it's all doing propaganda for the Democratic Party, obviously, but people aren't buying it. This audience, though, I mean, if you're going to a Bill Maher show, you are the peak shit lib.
Yeah. Yeah. You think that you're super progressive. I mean, I have people, super progressive, but you're just a realist. You're pragmatic, progressive.
But you will still catch during this segment times when the audience is like, nah, you're a little off for me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You'll wait. We don't fund that. I mean, by the way, we should be protesting anything we do with Saudi Arabia 100%. But he seems to be and also, like, who cares if they're cosplaying against genocide? Good. Like, sometimes the difference between who you are and who you should be is a little bit of cosplaying until you get there.
Yeah, and the why about it all is like, why are we suddenly so upset about this situation? Well, this is happening, unfolding before our eyes with our country's backing. All of our money is going to this instead of care. When you talk about the other genocides, we're not actively funding them. Overnight change the whole situation in those countries like we can now. Right. We're the only people allowing this to exist. If the U.S. came out against this strongly, the world pressure on them would have been enormous. It would have stopped after their first retaliation.
Yes.
For October 6th. We would have changed this decades ago, honestly, but like.
Exactly. 100%. We've been blocking this and preventing a two-state solution and using that as cover to allow Israel to expand, settled land, occupied land for decades. So yeah, this is all gross. Whataboutism, which
there's nobody here to challenge him on this. Is the beauty of it for all the shit libs. Like,
exactly.
Great. Everyone agrees. We all agree on this stuff that Bill Maher says.
The smart people.
I mean.
Is you want to shed the rejoinder to that?
Yeah, I feel like we should. That's what I was thinking too.
All right. So we're doing a little, if I remove this, we're going to come right back at this point, right?
Yes.
That's the hope. Okay. So just as a reminder, from his contempt and disdain and disgust with somebody who cocktail hour conversation,
the selective outrage. Yes. Yeah, it's always like, who's agreeing with me? Well, they're the good person. The other person's bad. My whole moral outlook is all based on that.
Imagine saying, look at me, and self-immolating. Like, that's ever going to change.
And him trying to make jokes about that. You fucking piece of shit. Like, fuck you, Bill Maher.
Fuck you.
On December 17th, a young vendor named Mohammed Bouazizi was devastated when a police officer confiscated his cart. This was not unique. It's the same kind of humiliation that takes place every day in many parts of the world. The relentless tyranny of governments that deny their citizens dignity. Only this time something different happened. After local officials refused to hear his complaints, this young man, who had never been particularly active in politics, went to the headquarters of the provincial government, doused himself in fuel, and lit himself on fire. There are times in the course of history when the actions of ordinary citizens spark movements for change because they speak to a longing for freedom that has been building up for years. In America, think of the defiance of those patriots in Boston who refused to pay taxes to a king, or the dignity of Rosa Parks as she sat as that vendor's act of desperation tapped into the frustration felt throughout the country.
Well, I guess just cocktail party talk from President Obama.
Say what you want about Obama, but he never minimized the moment. He was a great orator. He understood how the public felt about a situation, which obviously Biden doesn't get, but Bill Maher doesn't get how all this is turning off. This is the public expressing themselves in a way that they don't have any other power.
And like the level of desperation to do that act of protest, the ultimate act of protest, which, you know, I wish he hadn't done that. I feel horrible that he died such a violent death, but like to mock it is just.
And he tried to get a laugh in there. I think he even takes another jab, but it's just. Okay, just got to interrupt and say that was not for Stormy Daniels.
Of course not.
The guy may have had some issues and been, you know, people who've looked at his feed recognize that there might be some psychological stuff going on.
Right.
But this is an outright lie that it was about Stormy Daniels. He had a literal manifesto, and reason he was doing this had nothing to do with that. So this is just a gross lie, like for a laugh that, you know, even his own shit lib audience is like barely laughing at it.
Yeah.
But laughing too much.
Yeah. Like, and also, yeah, it's like those weak laughs where you know that he is waiting for you to laugh. So you have to kind of force it out. And also like getting in a healthy dose of misogyny on some level there. Like, you know, every part of what he says is just so vile. And I just do want to go back to the hand thing. He is infamous for masturbating before shows, and a lot of guests know this and will not shake his hand. It just
Bill Maher?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But that
that's another one you guys should all do.
I was always convinced he was going to get caught up in the Me Too stuff. And it's
amazing.
I'm
kind of
shocked. Amazing that I didn't even hear that rumor. So he's got some power still. So.
Yeah. But like to talk about these people who do nothing with their hands, like, ugh, whatever. Yeah. Are we moving on? All right, here we go.
Sure.
You go.
Oh, okay.
You'll push the button. Oh my God.
Okay. So addressing that at the end there.
So vile.
What is the connection? He took progressives fighting for Israel or for Palestinian rights,
liberation.
He twisted to, and this fat guy, and you're this fat guy. You are all this fat guy.
But Trump,
like
I'm surprised he didn't call them all Nazis.
There was no logical connection made at all to leftists. You're just like this guy. Remember this fat guy? And then he just went on with it. He didn't even make a pretend link. Like,
nope. It's because it's all about wanting attention.
It's wanting attention, like this fat guy. Like,
yeah.
Well, what does that even? That's not even about his politics. Like, it has. It's just a psychological connection. Like, you guys should feel good because you're not supporting this fat guy. Remember, you don't support this fat guy. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, you're like him, who's worse than Putin, and Putin's worse than Hitler, and Hamas is worse than the SS, and you guys are all like them. I mean, the logic, you can't start chipping away at the logic because, I mean, I think part of the mission is to exhaust us with the pretzels. Like you have to start from such a long time ago. Yeah,
it is. And it's also just relying on ignorance and like stating these blanket facts without actually arguing the facts with anybody about Palestine.
Yeah.
Lets people keep up in their head this motto of it's complicated. So I don't know, but Bill Maher's a good guy.
Both sides.
Protesters are silly. They just watch some Chinese stuff on TikTok or something. So that's why
they're getting their propaganda. Yeah.
But he's not counting it with any facts at all, ever.
No, it's just vibes. He just doesn't like these whiny privileged kids who actually are standing for something and putting their bodies on the line, getting fired, graduating with mass debt from these institutions that clearly despise them. They are, hedge fund companies. I mean, that's what these universities have become. They're hedge fund companies. They are real estate, like the worst slumlords. And
it's a great for-profit business.
Yeah. the education is so far down on the list, it's incidental. It's just like, clearly they don't care. They're arresting all of their faculty, their students. Yeah. Okay, so we thought we would show a couple of people who fought back against Bill Maher over the years. This was one of my favorites. Can we start with Ben Affleck? Is that all right? I'm going to put him.
I got you. Here we go.
Argue that liberals have failed us, and the crucial point of confusion.
I know it is.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crucial.
Are you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is.
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something,
well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no,
it really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
why are you so hostile about this?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so nuts.
It's like saying those statements, shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be liberals, believe in liberal principles like freedom of speech, like we are endowed by our forefathers with an inalienable rights, like all men are created equal.
Ben, we have to be able to criticize bad ideas. And
of course we do. No liberal doesn't want to criticize bad ideas.
But Islam at this moment is the motherlode of bad ideas.
Jesus.
So we have. But Nick,
or how about the more than a billion people who aren't fanatical, who don't punish women, who just want to go to the store,
wait a second.
Sandwiches,
Wait a
pray 5 times a day,
second.
don't do any of the things. You're saying all Muslims.
Wait a second.
Wait.
Stereotyping.
I'm not saying all
wait a
Muslims.
second.
Things, and you painting the whole group religion with that.
No.
Well, what is your solution? What is your ask?
No,
Just condemn Islam?
the solution. No. The solution is very much what
we've
Nick
killed
is
more Muslims than they've killed us by an awful lot. We've invaded more Muslims.
I am not for more killing.
An awful lot. Yet somehow we're exempted from these things because they're not really a reflection of what we believe in. We did by accident. That's why we invaded Iraq and put 4 million people.
We're not convincing anybody.
It's not I'm specifically telling you that I disagree with what you think.
I know, and we're obviously not convincing anybody of the
If you don't understand my argument,
your argument is like, black people, they show each other.
That is not my argument.
You're talking ISIS couldn't fill a AA ballpark in Charleston, West Virginia, and you were making a career out of ISIS.
But no, it's not just ISIS. It's all jihadists. It's global. It's a phenomenon of global jihad.
I think that's the opposite.
There is those things. There's ISIS. There's global jihadists. The question is the degree to which you're willing to say, because I've witnessed this behavior, which we all object to on the part of these people, I'm willing to flatly condemn those of you I don't know and have never met. No.
Good point. I have to say, even though I know he's a little bit of a, it's hard sometimes to be a Ben Affleck fan, but that was pretty great.
I really liked how Bill Maher was just trying we're not going to win this argument because they don't have any points. And he's just like, we got to get on from this because we're getting our ass kicked with this guy.
They have not a single fact. They just thought that they would get a panel up there to just bash Muslims.
Yeah.
And it would be okay.
Yeah. And his panels have evolved over the years. Like they used to be sort of, open discussions. You'd have a Bernie guy on even, they'd outnumber him 3-1, but now they've gone to where they're not even having the leftist on much. No, he just never. Even outnumbered 3 or 4-1. They don't do it anymore. It's just like shit Libby Central.
Well, it became too embarrassing for him. Here is another great clip with Glenn Greenwald.
Well, what came out? We didn't go into Egypt.
Well, we
wound up with the Muslim Brotherhood.
We didn't go into Egypt. We were supporting and propping up Mubarak for 30 years, even as we were cheering for all the Tahrir Square demonstrators as though we were on their side. It was our government that kept Mubarak in power, just like we've done across the entire Muslim world. And it's amazing for you to say that, well, look at all these Muslims. The minute you give them a little bit of freedom, they go wild and they start being all violent. How can you be a citizen of the United States, the country that has generated more violence and militarism in the world over the last 5 or 6 decades, and say, look at those people over there, they are incredibly violent? We play a significant role in what has been happening in the Middle East because we've been interfering and dominating that region in order to have access to the oil.
I wasn't talking about violence. I was talking about theocracy. That doesn't happen here.
No, well, okay, that doesn't happen here, but at the same time, Iran isn't invading lots of other countries and occupying them for a decade, nor are fundamentalist Muslim countries the way the United States is. So these things are interlinked because we are continuously interfering in that part of the world. And so to say...
Really, it's all our fault?
It's not all our fault, but when you send your military for 6 straight decades into other countries to bomb them, kill their children and women and innocent men,
we weren't
prop up
doing anything.
dictators, yeah, you take responsibility for your actions and say, to the extent that that region
That religion goes back 1,000 years before our revolution. So I don't think we can take all the blame.
I don't think we should. I think we should take a lot of it. And there's lots of bodies and corpses that have been piled up in the name of Christianity and Judaism as well.
Not recently.
Have you heard of the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza for the last 50 years, motivated in part by extremist views of Judaism, or the wars in Europe, or the fact that there were generals in the United States saying we have to go and invade and destroy Iraq, a country of 26 million people, because our God is bigger? Lots of religions, not just Islam, produce violence.
Well, if I could just make one quick point about Egypt.
That silly liberal view that all religions are alike because it makes you feel good.
No, it makes you feel good to say our side is better. Those people over there are
feel good
primitive
to
and
put a
violent.
crown on your head and say, I'm a good person. How do I prove that?
You get to ignore the responsibility that your own government has for the violence and instability in the world by saying, look, it's that primitive religion over there that's to blame.
All right, it's time for...
I mean, he has nothing he can ever say in response. Pat, am I frozen or are you? Wait a second. Pat, nobody can hear you. Or am I the only one who can't hear you?
No, it was me. It was me.
Oh, there's like this blissful silence where I just got to keep talking.
Don't make me play cat videos.
I'm sure you had something really good to say. Start over.
Where was I? I don't know. It's like he had nothing to say. Glenn Greenwald handled him so well there. He left him with nothing to say other than, are we completely to blame, or it's our fault then? You know, it's our fault then. Well, and he handled it so well, saying it should be more our fault than you're recognizing. And you know, all they do at the end of this is they just end the segment without rebutting anything he said, other than he mocked liberals, liberals, you guys thinking all religions are the same or equal or whatever. I don't know. I said it better. I said it better the first time. I
believe you.
I want you to know.
I know. I believe that you did. No, but you're right. I mean, like, he really just wants everyone to agree with him. He has no facts on his side. It's just how he feels. He buys into all of the propaganda, the Hasbara, all of it. And yeah, I mean, of course, there are things written in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in the Quran. There are things written that are vile. And you can go into each one of those pieces of fiction and tear it apart. And yeah, some people act on those. We have thousands of them in our country who are in office.
And I agree with Cora here. I used to love Glenn. He used to be so on point on some issues. He's kind of fallen off, but challenging Maher showed his credentials, and he's earned his weight as a. I don't know. I don't know if he's trusted anymore. I don't know.
I feel like I know he's gotten.
Too,
I know we can talk about that later. I'm still a pretty big fan, but you know, there are times that he does things that I don't love, but I think he has. I think he's definitely earned some respect along the lines of the First Amendment, and also not just falling in line with Bill Maher, who just is such an Islamophobe.
Seriously.
Okay, there's one other one, and then I know you're probably ready to move on, but I just think this was so funny because he was trying so hard to get. He had Bill Burr on his podcast.
Right. I love that because. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
But Bill Burr is like sort of the edgiest, sort of racisty, like the guy that liberals. He's who Bill Maher wanted to be as a comedian. But Bill Maher is not funny, and Bill Burr is actually funny. And you can disagree with a lot of stuff he says. I do,
but he's like self-deprecating and smart about it. And Bill Maher is one of these people like Bari Weiss and all these people who were all about free speech and how kids on campus are such snowflakes for needing safe spaces. Meanwhile, they're getting their asses dragged to jail, beaten by cops, not being snowflakes, not being, privileged and safe in their safetyism kind of crap. And he's the one who actually cannot handle a moment of criticism. So this is when he had Bill Burr on his podcast.
Comic, but I thought tonight maybe we would like sort of share a cry together because I think we have something in common, which is that we think political correctness may be ruining comedy, or at least threatening it. Because I know you've had your problems with that, and you did a routine recently about how women like it rough, and then, of course, the internet police got all over you.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't notice if that happened, because I don't pay attention to it. I don't read comments.
Happened. Yeah, they hated you.
Yeah, but who did?
The haters.
This is my thing. Who? Like
the
20
haters.
people? Like 20 people with a hashtag can get like a news story going now. And I just don't think, there's no problem. Like the amount of times somebody tells a joke and they'll say that there's a controversy at a comedy club. That's funny is they'll show the clip on the news and like you hear the crowd laughing. So the comic is basically guilty of telling a joke that worked.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then if you put it on the news, yeah, it's going to be a completely different context. But I mean, I don't go on stage and worry about what people are thinking. Right. It's a really weird time where people are just bringing this up all the time like this is a major problem. I'm not experiencing it. I think it's like a half a dozen stories. And like usual, they're trying to act like, you know, the sky is falling. It isn't. It's a fun time. Come out to a comedy club. You know, you'll have a good time. It's all jokes.
Right. And to undergo that, I mean, Chris Rock says he won't play colleges anymore because they're too politically correct. Daniel.
You just ignore them. It's like 3 days. They flip out for 3 days. They try to bully you into an apology.
Well, you can't ignore them when they're right in the audience and you're playing to them.
You tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, believe me.
It's a comedy show. That's all you do. It's like...
Sweetheart, I do it here every week.
It's
you don't have to tell me.
Manufactured strategic outrage.
Right. Then forget it. Let's not have a good cry together.
But
is that not what you wanted out of that?
As long as we're on the subject,
He really is such a baby. It's unbelievable.
I love that he calls it manufactured outrage, and that's this whole segment was built on having him on so he could manufacture that outrage. And it's largely because like I stopped watching Bill Maher before it was even about the issues because he was just annoying on a personal level because he would scold his audience when they didn't laugh at his joke that wasn't funny because it was rude or crass or crossed that line where it was just like, you know, the self-immolation joke, stuff like that was really getting to his audience. And he would turn on his audience directly. Like the arrogance of this man was off the charts.
Yeah. Yep.
And so he's mad this guy's not, he can get laughs still and he can't is what it is.
Yeah. I thought we were going to have a good cry together about the people we're calling snowflakes because they're just having a response to the things I'm saying. Like nobody's telling him he can't speak. They're just sometimes not finding it funny. And here's a guy with all his canceled talk and whatever. Up the N-word. I mean, you name it. Wait. What? Are we
stream suspended for policy violations?
Oh my gosh.
Are you kidding? Is that just in the chat?
I don't know. I don't know if they see our stuff. I thought if we were talking, we would be allowed. I thought, wow. Oh no, the stream was canceled. Oh no, let's just start it again. Let's end it and start again. We're ending it and starting again.
All right, we're moving on from Maher. We'll move on.
But I don't know how. Okay.
You'll have to put up a new link.
Yeah. All right. So end the stream. 1 second. Give us 1 minute. Okay. Let me see if I can do it. I'm exiting. Right. God damn it.
Yeah, I'll leave a message while you're doing that.
Okay.